Welcome back, nerds. Today we are painting this guy. I hear his bones are covered in metal. Prepping and priming. The court-ordered community service of 3D printing is complete. Now Chris will apply a zenithal highlight to the model. First, he has applied a small amount of blue tack to hold the arms temporarily in place while he paints the torso. As is typical, he's painting the highlights from the top down. You know, imagine your airbrush is a light source and the paint is the light. That makes sense, right? I thought so. Just another one of the world's problems, solved forever by me. You're welcome. Once this is done, Chris will immediately jump to painting the skin. And it's done. Predictably, Chris is starting with pink. The process here is exactly the same as the zenithal, except now it's pink, so it's different. Chris assures me the white zenithal is necessary to get a better idea of the volumes while he's painting, as well as exposing any egregious support marks or print imperfections, which he will then ignore, because he's lazy. Now he'll paint the undersides with Warlord Purple, and if you don't have this color, don't worry. You can easily make it yourself by mixing 2 parts Warlord with 1 part Purple. Now Chris will paint the base flesh tone, using this aptly named base flesh, not Warlord flesh or something stupid. He will dilute this to the consistency of beef milk and commence the fleshioning. Chris tends to approach this in the same top-down fashion as the zenithal, then moves on to dusting the whole surface. It's important that your paint is thin enough that some of that purple tone is preserved. For the next step, we will use a lighter, natural flesh, diluted just like the previous color, then being a little more tactical with how he applies it. He really doesn't want much of this on the undersides. He has also disarmed the doll, so he can have greater control over where the paint gets deposited. Now for the highlights. Highlight skin. Chris uses this strictly on the upward-facing surfaces. He also likes to do it out of frame, like a professional. See? I know it's incompetence, but it feels like trolling. Okay, come on, man. Ugh. There you go. Sheesh, dude. Why is this so hard? Now just a quick dusting of the old orcish dermis. Chris intentionally gave him a Princess Fairy complexion because he's gonna clear coat it, and that will make it a little bit darker. Shall we paint the base? It'll only take a second. Chris is gonna dry brush it pretty liberally with a dark gray, then follow that with a lighter gray, just along the edges.
You better like this video. While you're down there, leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe. Oh, motherfucker, yeah.
And just like that, the base was done. Hell yeah. Obviously, we've moved on to painting these swords. And while Chris works on that, I'll do some quick research on this guy. And in the meantime, we have the world's foremost authority on samurai weapons to provide you with their insight. Please enjoy.
If you want to turn yourself into a proud samurai warrior, you need the Katana Samurai Sword. This high-quality plastic weapon is a Japanese longsword which will look just perfect with your traditional Japanese hakama. The black and gold katana samurai sword comes with a matching black scabbard, so it can be stored safely. The Japanese sword will protect you in fights and is sure to make you an eye-catcher at any part. Size length, 105 centimeters. Blade length, 70 centimeters. Material, plastic.
Wow. All right, guys, let's paint what your grandparents would call the art of the damned. Tattoos. Page 84 within the Tome of Heresies speaks of this forbidden technique in which you mix your skin tone with any color you wish to desaturate but still harmonize with the color it's being applied to. It's archaic and powerful, exactly the type of unholy sorcery that will get you cast out of the Toledo Painters Guild. So I've completed my research and have some fascinating tidbits to share. Did you know? This character was created by not Stan Lee. I know that's unusual. No, he was created by John Romita. And in John's early designs, the character was known as, you guessed it, BadgerMan X-treme. So cool. Why'd they change that? Notably, BadgerMan possessed what's known as a healing factor, meaning his body healed from damage extremely fast, which, when you think about it, makes this tattoo kinda weird, right? But whatever. His best-known power is obviously the ability to smell real far. So Chris just noticed the bandage appears to have lost a piece. This sort of thing happens, and there's a few ways to fix it. Today, Chris is going to show you the shelf candy way. You could get fancy with some green stuff. You could even start over with a reprinted part. Or you could defy the guild, like Chris is about to do, and just paint right over it like it didn't even happen. No one's going to notice. Furthermore, it's canonically unnecessary considering BadgerMan's healing factor. And if any punk does question you about it, I want you to grab Glenn by the arm and escort him out of your house and tell that mother to never come back. And remind his punk to that there's many cultures that intentionally leave imperfections in their art. No one needs people like in their lives. You, Glenn. Heroes approach. Handsome, genius, warriors all. Allow me to present the Legion. Bow your heads.
Behold our might. You cannot fight. We are Legion. We are Legion. Your end is clear. The void is near. Prepare for oblivion.
You too can join this kingly alliance. What are you waiting for? They're doing their part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I didn't do fucking shit!
All right, let's finish up these torso details, starting with a gray wash on the bandage we just repaired. This is pretty simple. Just be mindful where it meets the skin and watch for pooling. Then, while that dries, let's draw some attention to all this vascularity with a blue glaze. Just dilute any blue that feels veiny to you. Chris is using this ultramarine stuff. You want this really thin, then just paint over the veins. It may take a few coats, and you want it subtle. So if you overdo it, like Chris just did, take a Q-tip and a drop of acrylic thinner and artfully remove or soften it until you're happy. Now let's add a little blood stain to the bandage, using this fresh blood paint. Just pick a spot where you want his boo-boo to be and start building it up. You want it to be more opaque in the center and fade outward for optimal gross field dressiness. You can't really screw this up. It's a wound, so have fun. Nice. After allowing that to dry for a couple minutes, Chris realized he didn't like it and decided to give it one more wash using Skeleton Horde, just to gross it up a little more, before moving on to the pretty arm, necklace, ultimate warrior thing. Chris is gonna start with Cygor Brown for the rope parts, and the whole time he paints this, he will keep looking at the bandage, thinking it looks like Glenn painted it. We can't suffer that indignity, so Chris will quickly dry brush the edges, and that should be sufficient for removing the Glenn taint. Just a bit of the highlight skin paint and some downward strokes. That's all it takes. All right, let's let this dry. It's heresy time. Silly putty, deemed the most blasphemous and profane of tools by the Toledo Painters Guild, it shall forever remain the most venerated weapon in Chris's arsenal. Its potency lies in its extreme workability and its immortality, for it is ageless and can be reused for all time. Far more reliable than this airbrush. Always clogged piece of shit. There we go. Not much to say about this step. Chris is just gonna paint the pants with this Blood Angels red. Now bear witness to its true power. Deny it, Guild, at your peril.
Shelf candy!
All right, Chris will now repeat those steps with Imperial Fist Yellow, before switching to Reichland Flesh Shade to add some saturation to the shadowed areas. He is trying to correct an issue with muddiness because he's a dummy and just started painting over a zenithal that was too dark. Then Chris will remove the masking to check for oopsies, and since he is using silly putty, there won't be any. He'll then let it dry before masking again. Now for the swoopy butt cape part, he will do two passes. First with the Reichland Flesh Shade again, then with Dark Oath Flesh. I should note, this was trial and error. Chris didn't have some grand plan here, could you imagine? Nope, this is simply a, well, that looks terrible, maybe if I do this style of painting. His goal was to knock back all traces of the yellow, and the Reichland Flesh Shade just wasn't cutting it. Okay, we have a few remaining details on the torso, starting with dry brushing some ropiness onto the Ultimate Warrior armband thing. Then there's these beads. These f***ing beads. Chris is gonna alternate between red and yellow for these. They are frustratingly small, so Chris is gonna take his time here. Why he chose the two colors with the worst coverage, we will never know. Now let's block in all the hair. For this, Chris is using plain old black. He will come back later and dry brush on some brown or gray or something. Just be careful where the hair meets the face. You kind of want to flick the brush where you start your strokes to get nice, hair-like tapers. Masterful transition, Chris. We weren't even done with the head/face/hair yet.
Shelf candy!
It's worth noting, Chris still hasn't improved his camera positioning when painting faces yet. You know Glenn is gonna have a field day with that.
Fuck you, Glenn!
Honestly, I am seeing some slight improvement on the camera work here, but I think it's time to let this dry and move on to painting the feet.
Paint that shit!
First, we're gonna start with BadgerMan's little socks, and Chris is gonna take this opportunity to brighten the zenithal on the feet in hopes of mitigating that muddiness from earlier. Then using Skeleton Horde, Chris is going to reintroduce a more tonally appropriate shadow down where it meets the flip-flop. Then speaking of those flip-flops, Chris is going to use this beastly brown to paint those. They appear to be made of rope. In fact, look at all those laces. You really got to strap these things on. The flippy floppies seem to be laced on top of the pants, and there's all these little nooks and crannies that we have to paint red so they match. Lucky for us, BadgerMan only has 2 feet. Ooh, that sound can only mean one thing.
Yeah, baby. It's super awesome. Giveaway time. Giveaway time.
To celebrate the launch of Chris's dumb little merch store, he is giving away this limited edition drinking vessel. It can hold cold and hot beverages. Like any kind of tea, you can just repeatedly dunk tea bags into it, like this. Do you want one? Go here. But you can also win one by subscribing, liking this video, and leaving a comment. Chris will pick someone at random and ship you one. He's also giving them away on his Patreon. So go join. There's so many ways to win. He also wants me to remind you that he has an actual super awesome giveaway planned for hitting the 10,000 subscriber milestone. There will be more details in the next video. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Where were we? Ah yes, the feet. Chris must now paint all these strappy things. He's going to use Imperial Fist yellow, so they match the yellow he used on the legs. There's nothing interesting about this step, but as he's painting them, he's noticing the yellow is still kind of muddy, so he'll quickly give them a dry brush with a brighter, more opaque yellow, then call them good enough. Now that those are finally done, let's quickly paint the claws. Did you know? BadgerMan's entire skeleton, including his magic claws, are all coated in a metal called adamantium, which, if the literature is to be believed, is the concentrated essence of English musician, adamant. I love it. All right, we have a tree to paint. First, we're going to base coat it with Cygor brown. Just the trunk. Then we need to dry brush some details. Using brown sand and this Artis Opus dry brush, Chris is going to pretty aggressively go over the whole trunk. Cygor brown is so dark that even the lightest bit of paint will be apparent, so just slowly build it up. Refresh your brush as needed, but remember to remove as much paint as possible. Tree trunks are pretty damn easy. Just pull the brush against the grain, like you're cutting a steak. Now, I know that analogy sounds like clicks and whistles to all you vegans out there. So, I don't know, paint it the same way you would cut cauliflower or something. I'll work on more dietarily inclusive analogies in the future. Maybe. All right, for the foliage, Chris is starting with this light green. He's going to slop this on while trying not to get any on the trunk. And then, just a quick dry brush pass with this Escorpina green. Easy peasy. Perfect. Okay, so here's a pretty annoying issue Chris has to contend with. Look at these ropes. Look where they're sliced, creating two very obvious seams. Now Chris has a choice to make. Either clean out the keyholes, then glue them, then putty them, then sand around all these ropey twists. Yeah, that's one option. The stupid option. Or use his profane mastery of laziness for evil in another heretical approach, certain to draw the ire of the Toledo Painters Guild. Yeah, we're gonna do that one. First he is gonna cut off these keys so the rope ends fit flush. Then sand both ends as flat as possible for maximum surface contact. Then, using his command over time and space, he will jump to the moment where these parts were already painted. Wow, this is demon clay, commonly known as green stuff, and Chris will use it both structurally and decoratively as a sort of band-aid, or shelf cand-aid if you're nasty. After mixing the two demonic essences together until they turn green, Chris will superglue the rope ends to this waist belt section part thing. Chris likes to use accelerant on one side of whatever he's joining, so it bonds instantly. Then, using a very thin piece of demon clay, wrap it around the seam. Then, using a toothpick, you can shape it into the ropey twists for strength and work a little simulated tension into it to give it the appearance of like a piece of leather wrapped around the rope or something. When doing this sort of heretical demon clay work, Chris will sometimes add extra superficial details, like near the ends of the ropes, to make it look more intentional and hide the overall half-assery of this approach. And that's it. Just let that dry overnight, then you can paint it in whatever way is pleasing to you. It's time to paint a cool hat. Step 1. A super light coat of skeleton horde along the edge. Step 2. Apply it as a wash over the same area. Not too heavy, just enough to get some contrast between the reeds. Step 3. Paint all this woven stuff. Chris is going to use Blood Angel's red. You really want to make sure you get it into all the nooks and crannies. Seeing any spots of white you missed later on will drive you crazy. We're nearly done. All that's left is finishing BadgerMan's portrait. Starting with deck tan, Chris is gonna paint these tiny scleras. Holy shit, guys. I can't believe it. I can kind of see what he's doing. I'm as astonished as you. I never thought this day would come. I don't know what we did to deserve this, but if you haven't already, you should like and subscribe. It clearly has some sort of placebo effect on Chris's ability to improve his camera work. I highly doubt it will contribute to any improvement whatsoever to his actual paint work. He seems a little too comfortable being the okayest painter in the world. But there's only one way to find out. Ooh, look at this. He's using the forbidden dork makeup to add a 5 o'clock shadow to BadgerMan's chin. Lock this down with a clear coat after you get it how you like it. Now all that's left is a quick glaze of some grimoire purple on the lips. So pretty. All right, guys, I think it's done. Behold.
Shelf candy. He's all done painting. Wolverine. Did I mention his skeleton is made of metal? He has harrowing visions of his origin. Wolverine! He's very short and can smell real far. Wolverine! He's everyone's favorite! John Romita. Yeah! Shelf candy! Shelf candy!
All right, I'm gonna go now. Subscribe. Fuckers!
Badgers? Badgers? We don't need no stinking badgers!